today about IT courses and their future PR pathways in Australia. This session is going to be presented by our Sydney team. We're joined by Ms. Ravina Jassal, who is the admission team leader in Aussizz Sydney, and she's highly proficient with helping students finding the right education courses, not just in Sydney, but Australia-wide. She has specific expertise in understanding and empathizing with student aspirations, especially when it comes to the field of information technology. And with this strong experience and expertise, she has helped numerous students find the right education provider who is, able to match their future aspirations. So for all your education related needs, if you want to ask her anything about scholarships, IT courses across anywhere in Australia, please do make sure to leave that in the comments and she'll answer them throughout the session. From the migration team, we're joined by Mr. Ali, who is a registered migration agent with Aussizz Group Sydney as well. He's an eloquent presenter who believes in providing authentic guidance and the best possible migration pathways in Australia. He's highly skilled with state and regional skilled migration, especially with occupations related to IT as well. He holds distinctive expertise in handling complex cases and has helped thousands of migrants achieve their desired outcome and finally achieve their goal of settling down in Australia. So make sure to leave your questions for both of them and they'll be sure to answer them in the Q&A session. Over to you, Ravina.
Thanks, Riddhi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ravina, and today I'm going to talk about information technology programs and the PR pathways. To start with, so our agenda of today's live session is where we will be talking about ICT industry projection, career opportunities available for the students after finishing their respective programs in the area of IT. The salary expectations, how much salary you can expect after completion of your bachelor's or master's education in Australia, entry requirements of each and every program related to information technology, universities and providers in Australia who are offering bachelor's and master's programs in the field of information technology, and along with the scholarships information. So first, I would like to start with the 5 years industry projection. So we have a kind of made a survey and then we tried to fetch the data according to the coming 5 years duration, that how it's going to be, how the industry is going to be, and what changes we can expect, or what occupation would be, highly in demand, or what occupation can give high expectations in terms of the career success, their salary expectations, etc. So projected employment growth according to 5 years, which is until November 2025. So we have come to know that ICT professionals and business and system analysts and programmers, database and system administrators, and ICT security specialists, along with other ICT and support professionals. The data is collected according to the National Skills Projection. So according to this data, we can see that we have a bar graph here, which shows that projected employment growth would be until November 2025 in the respective occupations, which we can see that ICT professionals 26.6%, and ICT network and support professionals it's 27.8%, and business and system analysts and programmers 29.6%. So definitely the employment rate or employment growth is going to be very high in coming future years, which is definitely going to help the students if you will be choosing your career path in information technology or related areas. Moving forward, so if we talk about the career opportunities, definitely there are heaps of career opportunities available, which leads students to different career paths. So possible job outcomes can be if somebody is doing their bachelor's or master's in information system or information technology or related area. The possible job outcomes are analyst programmer, computer network and system engineer, developer programmer, ICT business analyst, software and application programmer, software engineer, system analysts, and so on. So here, to discuss about the median weekly salary, again, we had kind of, tried to project the salary outcomes, that if a student is specialized in ICT business and system analyst area, how much they can earn weekly. If the person is in ICT support and test engineer, what would be their salary expectations, or how much they can on an average earn weekly. So we can see here ICT business and system analysts are able to earn around $2,274 weekly. ICT project managers are with 2,766. ICT support and test engineers are somewhere around $2,019. ICT security specialists can somewhere earn $1,932, and computer network professionals $2,021. So this is the median weekly salary that IT professional can earn after achieving their bachelor's or master's degree in their respective career options. So if we talk about the employment by state or territory, the percentage share can be seen over the screen. So here we had a ICT business and system analysts, which we can see that NSW is one of the largest state, which is having 38% share of ICT business and system analysts with earnings of $2,274 weekly. And other than that, followed by Victoria region, where we can see that the same occupation is having employment by 31%, and then followed by Queensland, which is 12%, then Western Australia, which is 7%, South Australia and ACT 5 to 6%, and Tasmania and NT are the states where the employment in these occupations is the least one. Then ICT project managers, again, we can see that NSW is one of the highest number in terms of numbers, which is 39% we can see. And then again, Victoria on the second number, which is 31%, and then followed by Queensland and ACT and South Australia, Western Australia with respectively 12%, 7%, 6%, and 4%. ICT support and test engineers, again, it's one of the highest numbers in NSW, which is 43% of the share under the employment of this occupation. Again, followed by Victoria, which is 31%, and the least share we can see in states like Tasmania, or a territory like Northern Territory. ICT security specialists, we can see NSW again is leading state, which is with the highest employment, and 37%. We can see ICT security specialists are there in NSW, and then in Victoria, the share of this employment is 30%, and in Queensland, it's 12%, with the least amount of share in other states or territories. Computer network professionals, again, we can see NSW is leading in all these IT occupations. NSW is one of the state which is having high career growth prospects and high employment opportunities, and highest share among all these occupations is available there. So 36% with NSW, 29% with Victoria, 13% with Queensland, 9% with Western Australia, and 5% in ACT, with the least share in NT and Tasmania, which is 1%. So after all this discussion, let's talk about who can study these courses, who will be the right candidate or student, or who can choose the pathway among these courses. So we'll start with the bachelor's and master's program. So if a student is looking for a bachelor's degree, the minimum entry requirement for the bachelor's program is year 12 with IELTS or PT score overall 6 and no band less than 6 or 5.5 in some cases. And other than that, there are institutions, if the student does not have a valid English score with them, then again, we have a solution to that also. The institution can conduct an English placement test to meet the English requirement at institution's level, and that can be sorted. If we talk about master's program, for master's, again, the minimum qualification which is required is at bachelor's level, and AQF level 7 bachelor's degree is required in a discipline. And along with that, the IELTS requirement would be 6.5, no band less than 6 or equivalent in PTE. Again, if the student does not have a valid English score or PTE score with them, it's not an issue at all. You can come to us. We can help you with the admission process in an institution where we don't really need English test score, because the institutions these days have introduced English placement test. So yeah, this can be done. So let's talk about the universities or providers in NSW which are offering IT programs at bachelor's or master's level. So we have Victoria University here, we have Macquarie University here, we have Charles Sturt University, Victorian Institute of Technology, University of Wollongong, Wentworth, Kent, UTS, etc. And the tuition fees on an average with the institutions depends upon their rank as well. If we are going with the higher level university, definitely the tuition fees is going to be little bit different as compared to institutions like Kent, Wentworth, or Victorian Institute of Technology. So with Victoria University, the tuition fees, we can see that it's somewhere around $22,260 per year. With Macquarie, $39,800 per year. With Victorian Institute and Kent Institute and Wentworth Institute, they are almost the same tuition fees with $17,000 per year. And Wollongong University is $33,840 per year. So where we can see this, sometimes this tuition fees is higher in some universities or institutes, but again, we don't really need to dishearten, or we don't really need to feel sad about it, because the universities also do have scholarship programs available with them, which have different criteria, different entry requirements, or sometimes they don't really have an entry requirement to be eligible or to make the student eligible for the scholarship program. So every university or institute these days do have a generous amount of scholarships, which we can see. So here we have information for some of the institutions readily available. So we can see Victoria University do have 20% scholarship for undergraduate and postgraduate programs in their information technology and business analytics area. Southern Cross University again have different kind of scholarships with them. So they have regional scholarship of $5,000 per year. They have diversification scholarship of $8,000 per year. They also have an outstanding academic scholarship, which is $15,000 per year. So if we see here that outstanding academic scholarship, we can certainly get an idea that if the student has exceptional performance in their previous bachelor's or previous education, like let's say their year 12 or their bachelor's degree, then that's definitely going to help you in achieving this amount of scholarship. Again, in Charles Sturt University, we do have 15% of all undergraduate and 25% for postgraduate programs. Victorian Institute of Technology, again, is offering 20% for bachelor's program and 25% for master's level program. And coming to Kent Institute, they have up to $1,200 bursary, plus they also have 30% scholarship. But again, as we have mentioned, so they have a very high requirement in terms of GPA. If the student has received distinctions or higher distinctions without any fail in their previous subjects or units, then definitely they can achieve this scholarship. Thank you. Now, I would like to pass it on to our migration agent, Mr. Ali Ahsan. He will be talking about the possible PR pathways and the requirements along with the state requirement entries. Over to you, Ali.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ali Ahsan. I'm registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. Today, I'll be explaining PR pathways through IT occupations. And before I start, I would like to thank Ravina for explaining all the career prospects and about courses and scholarship options in this field. So just give me a moment. Let me open. So today, as I said, my topic of discussion will be how you can use IT degree or IT qualification to get permanent residency in Australia. So these are the few occupations that are on the list. So on left side, you can see there is medium long-term strategic list, which is MLT SSL. Now, in that, there are occupations like analyst programmer, developer programmer, business analysts, multimedia specialist, security specialist. And then there is a short-term list, which includes, for more occupations like test engineers or network administrator or software testers, web administrator, etc. So your occupation has to be in either of these lists, or there is another list which is regional occupation list, but that mainly applies to regional sponsored visas 491. But these are the two main occupation lists in which we look into while say if your occupation is in demand or not in any particular state. Now, for skilled migration pathways or for skilled migration, first thing you need is to get first thing you need is skills assessment. Now, for skills assessment, relevant authority for IT occupations is ACS, Australian Computing Society. Now, they have different requirements if you have Australian qualification, and requirements will change if you have an overseas qualification. So this is the area where applicants generally have a lot of questions that if they have studied in Australia, how can they get assessment? Or if they have an overseas degree, how can they get that overseas degree assessed? Now, for Australian qualification, once you have completed relevant Australian qualification, which is bachelor's or a master's degree, you will need at least 1 year of post-study work experience in nominated occupation, or you'll have to complete a professional year program. So I generally over here, I recommend that you start professional year program as well, because it will give you additional points. But then for assessment, either if you have 1 year work experience or if you have professional year program, you'll be able to get your skills assessed. Now, if you have overseas IT qualification, now it's important to understand that there can be there can be 2 or 3 types of qualifications. There are few qualifications that are ICT major, then there are qualifications which are IT minor, and then there are qualifications which are not relevant to IT. So if your qualification from overseas is, it's a bachelor's degree or higher, and it's ICT major degree, you need, and your qualification is closely related to your nominated occupation, you will need to show at least 2 years of relevant work experience in past 10 years, okay, or 4 years at any time in past. If your degree is IT major, but your qualification is not closely related to nominated occupation, you will have to, you should have at least 4 years of relevant work experience anytime in the past. Then if you have a degree which is not IT major, for example, you have studied IT units, but they are not as per the ACS requirements or guidelines, then your degree will automatically fall under ICT minor qualification. In this case, if your qualification is closely related to your nominated occupation, you need 5 years of relevant work experience. If it is not closely related to nominated occupation, you need 6 years of relevant work experience. So you can see that, with Australian degree, you have an advantage. You can, you can either do professional year after completing your degree, or you need 1 year work experience to get assessment. Same thing, if you have overseas degree, you'll need more experience, and you have to prove that your degree is ICT major in order to get, benefit in experience, basically. Otherwise, you'll have to show 5 to 6 years of work experience. Now, if you have done diploma, so if you have done a diploma or advanced diploma, lower level study, it's not a bachelor's or master's. So if it is a lower level study and it is closely related, then you have to show 6 years in past time or 5 years work experience in past 10 years. If your qualification is not relevant, you have done diploma in IT from overseas, but it's not closely relevant to your nominated occupation, then you need 6 years of relevant work experience in any time in the past. Now, if it is non-ICT degree, then you have to write RPL, and you need 6 years work experience in addition to RPL. And if you don't have any qualification, you need 8 years in past with an RPL application, basically. So these are the different, these are the different pathways to get assessment in IT field. So clearly you can see the difference and advantage of studying IT degree in Australia, and you can get assessment even without having work experience, basically. Now, once you have assessment, we have to look for visa options. So there are three subclasses in general skilled migration. Subclass 189, which is skilled independent visa, that is permanent visa. Then 190 state sponsored visa is there, which is also permanent visa. And 491 state or family sponsored visa, which is pathway to PR. It's not direct PR. You get 491 visa for 5 years, and you have to live and work in regional Australia after getting the visa. You must stay in regional NSW, regional Australia for 3 years and work there. And you must earn an income of 53,900 per year for 3 years, basically. Now, there are employer sponsored visa options available as well. And a lot of applicants are currently using this pathway to get their permanent residency. Now, 482 is there, 186 and 494. These are the three subclasses under employer sponsored. I'm not going to talk about employer sponsored visa specifically today. I'll be focusing on state sponsored and regional sponsored requirements. But then these are the visas that you can look into. Then there is another visa, global talent visa, under digital sector. So digital sector is one of the target sectors for global talent visa. But for this, you must have internationally recognized achievement, or your profile should be really strong in order to qualify under global talent visa 858. So coming towards state sponsor, as I said, that's the topic of discussion today. State and regional sponsorships. So New South Wales sponsor applicants for 190 visa. Now, as I said, 190 earlier, 190 is state sponsored visa. It's permanent visa. You can submit your expression of interest even at 60 points. That's the lowest points you should have. You get 5 points from state on top. But that is minimum requirement. Now we have to see what states are actually looking into in order to issue you an invitation. Now NSW pathway is mainly, so the NSW does not give preference to applicants on the basis of their years of residence or their study in NSW when it comes to 190. They have mainly set out 2-3 basic requirements. First one, and the most important one, is that your occupation has to be on NSW occupation list. Now, most, or I would, if not all, most of the IT occupations are in demand in NSW. So which is really good, for IT graduates or applicants who want to study in NSW. Then the requirement is that you must be residing in NSW for 3 months, or you are employed currently in your nominated occupation. So someone who has recently moved from other state, let's say someone who moved from Victoria or other states, and they are living in NSW for more than 3 months, and they can prove their residence, they are eligible to lodge their expression for 190, basically. Or if someone has job in their own field in NSW and they moved even recently, they are also eligible. They meet residence requirement. On top of that, NSW issue invites on the basis of points, and applicants with higher points get invited first generally. But in addition to points, they also look into your skilled employment and your English language. So these three components are really important when we are talking about NSW 190. Even though if your occupation is on the list and you are meeting minimum requirements, you have to compete with other applicants on the basis of points, your skilled employment, and your English language. For 491 in NSW, NSW has recently updated it into 3 streams, basically. So if you want to become eligible under stream 1, your occupation must be on combined list as published by NSW government, and you must be living and working in regional NSW for past 12 months. and work has to be in closely related field or nominated occupation. Now, if someone is working there for more than 3 months, they can also apply under stream 1, and NSW will consider their case their case will be considered on case-to-case basis. Then stream 2 is there, where if applicant has completed 2-year study in regional NSW, and that study was completed in previous 24 months, they will qualify under stream 2. Stream 3 is open to anyone, whether they are residing in NSW or if they are residing in other states. They can lodge their registration of interest under stream 3 for NSW 491 visa, and but your occupation must be open on relevant regional development RDA relevant RDA's occupation list. If it is not, then you cannot submit your RO. But then preference will be given to applicants applying under stream 1. Now again, occupations are available under stream 1, 2, and 3. So if you are eligible under any of these category, you can apply in next window, which will be opening in October, and then they have another 2 windows in January and March, where you can submit your registration of interests. Then coming to Victoria, where IT is in terms of jobs, and as Ravina told, that Victoria is generally second best state in terms of getting jobs. So looking into their requirements, Victoria is currently sponsoring applicants again under 190 and 491. For 190, for 491, the requirements are quite similar, that you must be living and working in Victoria in a target sector using your STEM skills. Now, target sectors include health, advanced manufacturing, and it includes digital. Now, currently, under digital, they only have two sectors or 2 occupations mainly. That is cybersecurity and digital gaming. So if someone is living and working in Victoria and they're employed under cybersecurity, they can, they are eligible to apply for submit their registration of interest for 190 in Victoria. Then there is another option through 491. Again, same thing. You must be working in critical sectors using your STEM skills, and you must be employed in regional, and then you can apply for 491 under those target sectors. Now, one thing is important. If someone, for example, is a software engineer, but they are working in health sector, still they are eligible because they are working in target sector, and they're using their technology skill, which falls under STEM. So if someone has a profile, let's say software engineer or another field, but they are working in a health sector or advanced manufacturing sector or in another sector which falls under target sector stream, they can also submit their registration of interest. Then moving to Canberra, their basic requirement is for 190 is that your occupation has to be on ACT critical list, and you must work for 6 months full time. You must have 6 months full time experience in any field on TFN or 1 year on ABN, because ACT, they require you to have they require you to register they require that your ABN is registered in ACT for at least 1 year if you are working on ABN only. So that's why if you are going on ABN, it will take 1 year for you to become eligible. Now, if your occupation is not on the list, you can also qualify under small business owner pathway, or if you are sponsored under 457 or 482 visa, basically. In those cases, your occupation does not have to be on the list. For 491, again, occupation has to be on the list, or you must be on 482 or 457 visa, or you meet eligibility requirement in the small business owner pathway, and you must have 3 months part-time or full-time work experience. Part-time, minimum 20 hours will meet the requirement in any field on TFN or 1 year on ABN. So same rule applies for ABN here in Canberra. Now, applicants, if you are eligible, you have to submit metrics. Now, Canberra has their own metric systems where they rank you, where they give you points on the basis of your years of residence, your years of study, the type of employment that you are doing, duration of your employment, and your partner skills points. So they give you points under different categories. And then applicants with high points are invited first, basically. Currently, many IT occupations are in Canberra's critical list. So again, that is one good state for IT applicants. And you can consider studying or working in Canberra. Then coming towards South Australia. Now, South Australia has two basic pathways. Basically, one is for graduates and another is for through residence, or if you're meeting residence requirement over there. Now, for graduates, you must have completed at least 1 year study in South Australia, generally bachelor or a higher level study, or at a same level study, basically. And if you're talking about IT, then it's relevant studies, bachelor's or higher, specifically. Then you must be currently working in the nominated occupation or closely related occupation in South Australia for last 6 to 12 months. So let's say if you're a graduate, you have to work for 6 months to 12 months in your field after completing your studies. Now, you can be exempted from this requirement if you are there are exemptions available under different categories. So let's say, for example, if you're a high performing applicant where you have GPA of 6 or more out of 7. Then through residence or work, basically you have to work. So you must be currently working in nominated occupation or closely related occupation in South Australia for last 12 to 24 months. Now, the reason why I've written 12 to 24 months or 6 to 12 months is because they have different requirements when it comes to outer regional of South Australia and when it comes to Adelaide. So if you're working in Adelaide, you need more work experience. If you're working in outer regional, you need less work experience. Now for 491, there is a graduate pathway again, where you have to, if you have completed a study, and over here your work experience gets reduced to 3 months. So unlike 190 where you need 6 to 12 months, over here you need 3 months. And again, exemption is available in work experience on certain grounds. And one of them is if you are a high performing graduate of South Australia. Then you must be currently working if you haven't studied, then you must be currently working in nominated occupation or closely related occupation in South Australia for last 6 to 12 months, or you are living and working in outer regional of South Australia for 12 months. So this is one very good thing in South Australia. So let's say if you are living in outer regional of South Australia and you work there for 12 months in any field, you can still become eligible for 491 through South Australia. Okay. Or if you have job for 6 months in your own field, either way, you become eligible for 491. Now, coming to Tasmania. So Tasmania offers 190 and 491 pathway for IT occupations as well. Now, first thing for 190 is if you are applying under work pathway, your occupation has to be in the Tasmanian skilled occupation list. If it is not, you are not eligible. If your occupation is in the list, then you need 6 months employment, at least minimum 35 hours per week in nominated or closely related occupation in Tasmania. Under Tasmanian graduate pathway, if you have completed at least 2 years qualification in Tasmania, you are eligible, but you also have to provide a career plan to demonstrate that your Tasmanian qualification will increase ability to find employment in Tasmania. For 491 work category, you can work in any skilled field for minimum 35 hours per week for 6 months to become eligible. for 491 under Tasmania work pathway. Now, in this category, basically, if you are from IT background and let's say you work there as a chef or you're working there as a restaurant manager, and you can still become eligible for 491 in Tasmania, but if you complete 6 months work over there. Undergraduate requirement, your course has to be at least 1 year, which is 40 weeks course registered course in Tasmania, and you have to provide a career plan over here as well. That should demonstrate that how your Tasmania qualification will help or will increase your ability to find employment in Tasmania. There are other 2 pathways as well in Tasmania, which generally very few people are aware about these. First is that if you are owner of small business, okay, let's say if you're running a small business in Tasmania for past 6 months and you can demonstrate that business is highly likely to give you a personal income that would meet minimum taxable requirement for 191 visa, which is currently set at 53,900. So if you can prove after running business for 6 months that business can generate you an income of 53,900 in 1 year, this option is right choice for you. And they only stop you from doing certain businesses, which includes maybe service stations, Uber, taxi, or these kind of businesses. But then most of the businesses are acceptable under small business owner category, and there is no minimum investment requirement here. Then there is another pathway available if you have a family member who is PR or citizen and from minimum 12 months and they are residing in Tasmania for 12 months, basically. So it must be your parent, brother, sister, child, aunt, uncle, or grandparent. It cannot be your first cousin. Okay, so it has to be your close, that's a brother, sister, or child, or someone like that. Then you can apply, but for this 491, you must be outside of Tasmania. You must not be living in Tasmania to qualify under family stream. Then Western Australia. Now they have 2 streams, graduate stream and they have other general stream. Requirements are similar when it comes to 190 or 491. So for graduate stream, you should have completed 2 years qualification in Western Australia and your occupation must be on the graduate Western Australia graduate list, graduate stream list, basically. And you must have at least 6 months experience anywhere in Australia, or you must have an employment contract in nominated occupation or closely related occupation in Western Australia. So after completing your studies, either you have to prove that you have worked 6 months already in that field and anywhere else in Australia, or you have to get an employment contract from Western Australia in same occupation. Then general stream, there is Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 in general stream. So Schedule 1 applies for the occupations that fall under Schedule 1 list. Applicants should have 1 year of Australian experience or 3 years of overseas work experience. And for Schedule 2, there is no prior work experience required. But in both cases, if you are invited, you'll have to provide a job offer for 12 months. So you have to provide 12 months full-time employment contract in that occupation in Western Australia. So again, let's say if someone is sitting in NSW Sydney, they can still submit their expression of interest. And there are few IT occupations which are open under Schedule 2. But if they invite you, you have to provide a full-time job employment contract. So if you have employment contract in Western Australia, then this option is right for you. Now, coming towards Northern Territory, they have again graduate pathway and work pathway. So if you have completed at least 2 years study, 2 years qualification in NT, and you demonstrate, you have made genuine efforts to obtain relevant employment from an NT employer on full-time work rights visa for at least 6 months. So that's really important because applicants who are studying there or who have already used their TR and now they are studying on a student visa, they will not qualify under this stream because they will not have a full-time visa. But let's say if they get another visa which gives them full working rights, then they can qualify under NT graduate pathway. In work pathway, you must be residing and working full-time in nominated occupation from last 2 years and demonstrate that employment is available for further 12 months. For 491, graduate, you need 2 years study, and you still have to prove that you made genuine efforts to obtain employment. But in this case, you don't need 6 months full 6 months visa with full working rights. So that's the difference between 190 and 491 eligibility requirement. Now, for work pathway, you must be residing in NT for past 12 months, working full-time in Northern Territory in nominated occupation or closely related occupation, and demonstrate employment is available for further 12 months. So last state, I assume. So Queensland, the reason I've put it at the end because they haven't, they haven't released their occupation list. They're in process of doing so, and we are, as per their website, they'll be releasing requirements soon this month, most likely. But last known requirements were that your occupation has to be in QSOL list, or it has to be in priority migration skilled occupation list, and you must be working full time in your occupation for last 6 months. You also have to demonstrate that employment is available for further 6 months at least. Then for 491, again, last known requirements were that you must be working 3 months in your own field in regional Queensland, and your occupation should be on relevant list. Now, Queensland business pathway is available to all occupations. Now, even if your occupation is open, is on QSOL list or not, you can still qualify under small business pathway. Now, the minimum requirement is that you have to purchase a running business in regional Queensland for $100,000 or more, and it has to be running business. You cannot start a new business, and you must employ one Australian permanent resident or citizen for at least 6 months. You must have a visa. You must have a full working rights visa with you. It can be 485 or another visa which gives you full working rights. And then the business that you are purchasing must be at least 2 years old in Queensland. And after that, you can apply for 491 through Queensland. So these are all the states and regional sponsorship requirements. Thank you for listening to us. Now we will take questions. If you have any question, you can just leave that on our Facebook page, and I'll be able to answer from there. So I have one question here. Marid, look, for in terms of job, I believe Ravina explained that almost all the IT sectors are in, so you have more job prospects in NSW. And second best state can be Victoria in terms of obtaining job. But having said that, it totally depends on your capabilities and your previous experience and how well you do in interviews. But then job market is really strong in NSW and in Victoria as per the data we have. Vidavyas has asked that if NSW 90+5 computer networking, date of effect March 21. Yeah, so Vidavyas, with this profile, as per my understanding, you have points, but you don't have relevant work experience. Now, NSW conducted one round yesterday, and they invited a few applicants, but we haven't seen any invites for IT applicants. there were few, or I would say, security specialists that we have heard, but then they haven't issued invitations to network engineers or systems analysts as per our internal data. So once they conduct one round or two rounds, we'll be able to see how much time will it take for you to get an invite. But again, NSW is, it depends on many factors at the end of the day, because total number of seats that they are allocating to IT occupations will also matter. Any other questions? Anyone? I'll wait for next 2-3 minutes. I'll see if any question. Otherwise, we will finish. So someone has asked, I think it's Wahid. He has asked question on YouTube that you are working with an MNC based out of India, 3 years of experience in software engineering and data analysis. My question is possible to get job in Australia? So Wahid, it's possible to get job from India to Australia, but as you are, I'm not sure if you're aware that currently borders are closed for applicants who are not Australian permanent residents or citizens, so you cannot travel to Australia. But if you find an employer who can sponsor you, then and your occupation is critical, then if your occupation is in critical list, then you will be able to fly to Australia, basically. But with current scenario, it's, unless you have an employer sponsor and your occupation is in critical list, you'll not be able to travel to Australia. Hassan has asked that which which regional is best. Look, Hassan, so you have to see where your occupation, computer network professional, is open, number one. But then you can move to any region and you can still apply to different regions. So because they allow you to select 3 regions when you are lodging ROI. So let's say if you are living in Hunter region, for example, and your occupation is open in Orana region, you can still submit your registration of interest in that region. But if you have an option, first thing I will say that see where you can get job in related field. That should be your first preference. Now, if you think that you can get job in Hunter, but your occupation is not open in Hunter, I will still advise you to move to Hunter region, start working in your own field, because then you will be able to qualify under stream 1, and that's the preferred stream. If not, then look for regions where your occupation is in high demand and where your occupation is open, and move to that particular region. You can also get multiple assessments. Let's say if network engineer is not open, or for example, network administrator is open, or security specialist is open, then you can use those occupations as well to apply to different regions. Okay, so if If someone has question, they can ask. Otherwise, we'll finish. And if there is anything related to this, you can always call our offices near your nearest office, book an appointment, and a relevant member from migration team or from education team will be able to help you. Ravina, before we finish, do you want to add any comment to the questions?
Yeah, sure, Ali. Thank you for the information that you have shared so far, along with all the state requirements and the nomination criteria. Definitely, it's going to help our clients, to decide that which state would be a best possible option for them or to move out. Before finishing this session today, I would highly request our clients to, if in case they have any concerns, any questions, any queries related to admission, related to migration, they can always feel free to book a consultation with our respective education consultants or migration agents, and they will definitely get advice according to their situation, and definitely that's going to help them to find the options or find the solutions to their problems. And I hope that this session was informative for them, and they have had good amount of information out of this session, and we are looking forward to hear back from them. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've got another question from Ajay. Ajay, it's basically, if I'm not sure, what are you trying to ask in terms of working remotely? If you are in Australia and you are working from anywhere in Australia, you can claim points in terms of, you can claim points for, you can claim points as, like working, living and working in Australia. But then if you're talking about meeting requirements of specific state or region, you don't meet that requirement unless and until you work in that state or region. If your company is not located there, for example, if your company is in Sydney and you are working from home and you're sitting in Canberra, you will not be eligible for Canberra state sponsorship, because you are not applying, you're not working with a company which is registered in Canberra and they don't have clients in Canberra. So this is how generally picture looks like. Now, I believe I've answered all the questions. Still, if someone has any question in future, as I said, you can reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help you further. Thank you. Have a good evening.